Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be giving my analysis on the Netflix film Let It Fall, specifically looking at the works of the Charles Tilly and Chris Hedges because of structural explanations and micro interactions. I believe this is important because the film itself is even heavily structured. How you see the early 80s and then working into the 90s, it makes it quite clear that there's micro interactions taking place. The LA riots don't just fall out of the sky. People don't just wake up angry and start rioting. As we see early on, we see how drugs being then implemented into Los Angeles and how the structure of the police department, especially in its policies, were unable to handle these drugs, specifically the chokehold, and how the chokehold mixed with these new drugs were causing people to die, especially with the transport to the hospitals, which was immediately alarming to the police because they weren't expecting to kill these people. And since they weren't even expecting to kill these people in the first place, the policy was then just completely thrown away and then replaced with the metal baton, which they didn't know at that time would then cause even further damage. Because then it leads us to the Rodney King incident, where he was mercilessly beaten with these batons because there's no other plan for the situation, which doesn't excuse it, but it also means more punishment, more blame needs to be given on the LA Police Department as a whole, not just on these individuals. And then we see these individuals even further in their court case and the structure of our judicial system and how they were allowed to then get new jurors, get a predominantly white jury, get a predominantly military and police background jury to then get these police officers off on the context of there was nothing else they could have done, even though Rodney King was not even on drugs. This incident was one of the big three things that then fueled the LA riots. Number two was the Korean shop owner shooting the unarmed African American teen who wasn't even attempting to steal. That was another big source of content. Both the Korean shop woman and the police officers not serving jail time for these incidents led to an uproar in the South Central community because the South Central community had been neglected for years in Los Angeles. Not just neglected because the non-reporting of the shootings and the innocents lost in the gang violence, because they didn't care about gang violence until it entered Westwood. Nobody cared about what happened in the South and on South Central. And then people were just tired of not being cared about. Their social structures as far as the economics were not in place there. They didn't have like the large grocery store or anything, as plainly said. They were not given the tools in that area to succeed, but were asked to succeed anyways. And upon being spit on by the larger, more wealthy LA communities, the South Central community had had enough. And in having enough, they had their bad day. A lot of people that committed the violent acts said, "We're not violent people. We had just had enough. We had had enough on this day." And you really see that through the eyes of the people when they say this. And then you see how the structure of the police department, again, they didn't care. Like the South Central community was not cared about, where they said, we're not going to deal with this. The chief of police is not even present in the state. He's gone at a fundraiser while the riots are going on. He doesn't care. We had shown in the film, we got two police officers that cared. You see a lot of people that are showing the biggest heart are the residents of South Central. They're going out their way to then go ahead and save these people who are also in the wrong place at the wrong time. Heavy acts of violence placed upon them. Furthermore, once again, we see like this structure and how these micro interactions have built into the tensions that led to the LA riots, and how the structure of Los Angeles and the neglect of South Central also led to these tensions. So some questions I would have for you are, the first main question is, since that we've all at least taken this course as far as sociology goes, and we've been shown the different teachings, Hedges, Fanon, Tilly, King, they're all very different, but they all give us different emphasis about learning how to handle violence, many of what I mentioned, non-violence. So how comfortable would you have felt in these situations, as in being a juror for the Rodney King trial, or as a citizen of South Central during the riots? Not asking you what you would have done, but how comfortable would you have been acting nonviolently in South Central, or how would your nonviolent teachings that you've learned be implemented into the trial? Other question I would have is the police department's tactics were very, very wrong. They were not well equipped to handle the situation. So, what possible non-lethal situations or non-lethal tactics could you have used to handle these situations? Thank you for your time today.